Square Garden. We've got Kurt Angle in the ring cutting a promo. He's undefeated and he's been pushing the 3 Eyes. So he's going to do that to this New Yorker crowd. They're having nothing to do with it. And then the Heartbeat and the Orange show up on the screen, and fans who are online know what's coming. Here comes Tazz. What do you think of this match? Because this is going to be a match that a lot of people are going to point to and say, this is the beginning of the end for Tazz in the WWF.
I thought the match was decent. It was all right. It wasn't great, but it was a good match. It was a solid match from two guys that worked that style. It wasn't terrible, but it just was. I think Tazz had in the Garden, and maybe I think he had psyched himself out a little bit. It's a big deal going into the Garden for your first time, and a kid from Brooklyn,
especially against an Olympic gold medalist who's undefeated. I mean, that's, I know one of those things is sort of wanking a nod, undefeated, but Olympic gold medalist is legit. And he's also, compared to Tazz, as far as being an in-ring competitor, fairly green. I mean, this isn't the Kurt Angle of 2019. This is a young Kurt Angle.
It was, yeah. And it was somebody that we had high hopes for. And I think that Tazz, it just, I don't know. I think that their styles were a little too similar, and it just didn't mesh for whatever reason. And again, I don't know that Vince had ever seen Tazz work.
Well, he saw it this night, and Tazz has done interviews over the years where he says he saw Shane McMahon right before he goes out, and Shane says, "Hey, can you retape your wrists? We don't really want to put FTW on TV." And this is right in the middle of the Attitude Era, where, Austin's coming to the ring wearing a BMF on his jacket, and on video cassettes that the company would release, JR would ask Austin, "Hey, what does BMF stand for?" And unedited on this video cassette, Austin would say, "Bad motherfucker." So it is weird that on pay-per-view, we're asked to not show the FTW. And then there's a spot in the match that would be pretty controversial. There is, an attempted suplex by Tazz, where I think some would argue that, Tazz's timing was off. Others would say maybe Angle was overzealous and trying to go too fast, and he wanted to maybe help Tazz more than Tazz just muscle him up. And it looks like he's going to drop Angle on his head. That doesn't happen. He sits him down, starts it over, and then completes the move. But even in the match write-ups, that would be discussed. And supposedly that leads to a sit down the very next day. Like when Tazz gets to the building the next day, you and Vince and Briscoe and a few others are waiting to talk to him. What was it about this match that got you guys' attention and made you say, "Hey, Tazz, you, got to work a different style here"?
Oh yeah. We all waited at the door waiting for him to get there. All of us. No, Jerry Briscoe and I talked to Tazz, and again, guys, Tazz had a reputation coming in. Tazz has had a reputation of working stiff. And to some guys, some of the suplexes where he would let guys go and shit didn't feel safe. And from the night before, working with Kurt, one of our top guys, you go, "Okay, look, man, it looked like you lost him here. And if you're not going to do the stuff safe, we don't want you doing it. We only want you to do this stuff that's going to be safe, make it look good, but we don't drop guys on our heads here. And you got to take care of your opponent." That's the extent of the conversation. No more, no less. Tazz got it.
How did Tazz take it?
I think he was a little taken aback. He's like, "That's my style. That's what I do." It's like, look, we're not trying to take away your style. We're just telling you that either do it safely or don't do it. And if the guys are uncomfortable taking it, nobody's going to want to work with you. If you're going out and for whatever reason, somebody gets dropped on their head, they're looking at the guy delivering the maneuver. And that's not a reputation, and that's not the rap you want. Austin's not going to get in the ring with him if he's dropping people on his head.
Well, and you may be onto something when you said, it's his first time in the Garden, because Tazz has said that, on his ride to the arena, cause it's a drive-in for him. He lives in New York. he's pretty emotional on his ride in, and he picks up his phone and calls Paul Heyman, and he's supposed to be really excited, but he feels sort of guilty about going here, knowing that he's probably supposed to be doing something with ECW. And it's probably fairly weird for him because he says he had 3 goals in wrestling. 1 was to make a living, 2 was to hold any championship belt, and 3 was to wrestle in the Garden. And now he's about to check all those boxes, but he's probably in his own head a little bit. Like, am I going to be the same performer without Paul Heyman's presentation? And maybe he was second guessing himself a little bit, and Paul psychs him up, even though Paul's feelings are probably hurt that he's leaving, and he gets him ready for the match, and he goes out and has the match. But again, he's overthinking it on the way to the ring. We would hear in years later, Tazz would say he knew when he heard the reaction from the crowd. And by the way, go watch the tape, Royal Rumble 2000, when they reveal that Kurt Angle's opponent and the guy coming to shut his mouth as he's talking about the 3 eyes in the ring is Tazz. It's a big pop from the hometown crowd, and it's a surprise, and it's a big moment. But Tazz says in hindsight, he knew right then as he's walking to the ring, he was doomed. Like, it wasn't a WWE creation, and they're cheering me. They're never going to fucking push me to this level. And I know you're going to take issue with that, but a lot of guys like Bill Goldberg, when he came in for his first run, that was certainly his testament. What would you say to a Tazz in 2000 who's like, well, I got a big reaction, but it was too big, so they're not going to push me?
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay, we don't want anybody to get over. He's over, so let's kill it. That's stupid.
Well, I understand, and I knew you would say that, but are you going to really say that every idea about there being a discussion of, well, if it got over and it wasn't our idea, so therefore we don't like it, that's all bullshit?
Oh yeah, that's what we say. Oh yeah, well, this is over, but we don't like it because somebody else. That's stupid. Think of what you're saying. That's stupid. Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, just saying you did a lot.
Oh yeah, well, okay. No, we didn't. Different audiences, different reactions, different times, different people, and that's a stupid way of doing business, and that's not the case. And I'm sure that you and everybody else and Dave Meltzer and Tazz and whoever may think that. Simply not true.